Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Roy Vagelos.
Thank you, Dean Bushnell. Dean DeTurk, I'm honored to return to Penn on this important occasion. As you finish your term leading the School of Arts and Sciences, I want to congratulate you and wish you many happy years that will be dedicated to scholarship and teaching. Congratulations, Dean. Now I want to address the graduating students who will begin the next phase of what I hope will be a happy and productive career. I was in your chair 63 years ago and have thought about a few important elements that have made my life a very happy one. First, choose great parents. Mine were Greek immigrants, not educated beyond the 6th grade, but very wise. My dad was owner of a small store that sold candy and ice cream in the front, but also had a small restaurant in the back. My dad made all the ice cream and candies in a separate small shop. The entire family worked in the restaurant where my mother was cook, and my 2 sisters and I did everything else required to make a living. While my dad also worked in the restaurant to service customers, he was happiest when he worked in his shop, especially around holidays, when he produced candy canes for Christmas, chocolate bunnies for Easter, and specialty chocolates for Valentine's Day. He loved this work. After my dad retired in his 70s, he would set up his candy making in the kitchen of his home around holidays to make various candies. He did not want to stop doing what made him happy. But his constant message to me was that I should go to college to gain an education so that I would not end up in the restaurant. He also spoke of doing something beyond yourself. Dad was the member of a large family who was always called on to look after problems of other family members, and he always did this happily. Our restaurant was in Rahway, New Jersey, literally in the shadow of Merck, a giant pharmaceutical company. As our customers were largely Merck scientists and engineers, I listened while they ate lunch and dinner. They appeared very happy, often discussing their work, and they enjoyed a lifestyle I admired, even envied. A few of them suggested that I attend Penn to study chemistry, which was a hot topic at Merck at the time. Merck was involved in research in antibiotics and vitamins. I was dropped off by my parents at the gate of the university in September 1947, getting my first glimpse of the campus since I'd never visited. My time at Penn was split down the middle. I concentrated on chemistry and loved the more advanced courses after I pushed my way through the introductory ones that were boring. The remainder of my time was spent rowing on the lightweight crew. We had a very fast boat, and we competed every Saturday during the spring season. I loved the camaraderie of rowing with a team that was focused on victory. I'm still in contact with some of my crewmates over 60 years later. Then I made a tragic error. I graduated after 3 years because I had accumulated enough credits from all those lab courses. My boat, minus me, went on the next year to win all their races in the US, and then proceeded to win at the Henley Regatta in England, the most coveted crew race in the world. I was left with the nagging thought, did they win because I wasn't there? Or might I have been in that famous crew? I'll never know. I went to medical school at Columbia University with the idea of using chemistry to understand disease. But in 1950, there was little understanding of the science of medicine. So I learned about patient care, which was certainly not scientific. But I loved interacting with patients and soon decided that I would become a practicing doctor. My idea of science and medicine failed, and I was off in another direction. At medical school, the most important element of my happiness occurred. I met Diana, who was then an undergraduate at Barnard College. Diana was attractive, smart, and self-confident. She was studying history and economics, subjects I knew little about. I very quickly decided that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. We had many common interests, and she could teach me things I had not taken time to learn. We had to wait till she graduated and got a job before we married in 1955, while I was a medical resident at the Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. By the time I finished my training, I was absolutely sure that clinical practice was what I wanted to do. Next, we went to the National Institutes of Health to fulfill my military obligation to Uncle Sam because I had been deferred from the doctor draft during my training. I was required to take care of patients with heart disease, but I would have time to work in a laboratory. I met Dr. Earl Statman, a brilliant biochemist who was studying molecules that are central to the life processes. His ideas were mesmerizing. He taught me biochemistry, pretty much as a tutor would instruct a pupil. But my chemical background quickly kicked in. Within a short time, I was working independently, studying how the body makes fat and cholesterol and other exciting questions. As I was pulled back into science, I saw fewer and fewer patients. Soon, none. I was moving in the direction of my interest. Without a plan, I had left medicine and become a biochemist. In the meantime, Diana and I had our first 2 children. Our lives were happy, but complicated. I continued my career by moving the family to Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, Missouri, where I was chairman of the biochemistry department. Diana and I had 2 additional children to complete our family, and life was good in St. Louis. I spent my time teaching and doing research in biochemistry, which I loved. I had no thoughts about leaving the university or about drug discovery in 1975, but my publications had been brought to the attention of the CEO of Merck. He invited me to visit the Merck Research Laboratories, which I was happy to do since I could also visit my parents, who still lived in Rahway. During my visit, I noted that Merck scientists, while very good in many scientific disciplines, were not using modern biochemistry as the basis of drug discovery. After further visits and many discussions, I decided that biochemistry should be the major strategy for drug discovery. Understanding molecules involved in disease and targeting these molecules for drug discovery could be an exciting next move in my career, and success in discovering important new drugs would allow me to use my science to improve the health of patients, closing the loop in my career. I accepted the leadership of the Merck Research Labs. The new strategy for drug discovery at Merck began to produce interesting new drugs very quickly. One of the best known was the development of statins, mentioned earlier, for treatment of high blood cholesterol to prevent heart attacks. These drugs revolutionized the treatment of heart disease. But also exciting were drugs for high blood pressure, infectious diseases, glaucoma, osteoporosis, and asthma, and vaccines that prevented previously untreatable diseases, such as hepatitis B. Merck grew very rapidly and was soon the largest pharmaceutical company in the world, with its products improving health of millions of people. I felt very good about the company. and I felt good about myself. I had reconnected with patient health. One of our most interesting research projects, which saved vision of millions of extremely poor people, began with the discovery of a drug that killed parasites of farm animals. A Merck infectious disease doctor asked me to test this drug in a disease called river blindness, which occurs largely in sub-Saharan Africa. The disease is caused by a parasite which was causing blindness in 8 million people, with over 100 million at risk for losing their sight. Infection by this parasite is transmitted by the bite of a black fly, which lives along rivers, hence the name, river blindness. The fly picks up a tiny embryonic form of the parasite called microfilaria, which live in the skin of infected people. Within the fly, the tiny parasites undergo change so that when the fly bites another person and injects that developing parasite, the parasite becomes an adult worm. The males about 1/2 inch, the females up to 15 inches long. Males and females live together in lumps in the skin, producing millions of microfilaria, which crawl through the skin, causing incredible itching, and they enter the eyes to eventually cause blindness. In villages in the center of Africa, up to 1/3 of adults are blind and must be led around by children who are still able to see. Our scientists and researchers found that a single dose of our drug, given just once per year, would kill all the microfilaria, stopping both the itching and further blindness. Extensive studies in Africa showed that the drug was effective and it was safe. The question was how to get the drug to these people who were among the poorest in the world. We approached several African governments and then the US government, offering the drug at very low cost. Each said they had no money in their budget for this disease, but people were losing their sight. After exhausting all potential purchasers of the drug, Merck announced that the company would contribute the drug free to anyone in the world who needs it for as long as it was needed. That announcement in 1987 launched a program of drug contribution, which grew every year, so that by the year 2011, over 200 million people per year received the drug free from the company. River blindness will be conquered, and this accomplishment will be on the basis of a drug discovered in that company. My research career at Merck was followed by 9 years as chairman and CEO of the company, another unplanned deviation where I followed my changing interests and had to learn additional new skills. Merck was successful during this period, and from my position, I was able to influence the pharmaceutical industry to improve the health of millions of people. But at age 65, in 1994, if you can believe it, I had to retire because of company policy. I was certainly not ready to stop doing what I loved, delivering important products to help people. But just as my dad returned to making candy for many years after his retirement, I became chairman of 2 small companies in drug discovery, Regeneron and Theravance. Regeneron is discovering exciting new large molecule drugs based on molecular biology, while Theravance is discovering important new small molecule drugs based on biochemistry and chemistry. Both these companies stimulate me to continue learning in order to keep up with the scientists. Both companies are very successful, and I am able to continue the work that I love. Final message. In your careers and lives, find a great life partner. Follow your interests, Work on the things you love and keep learning new things. Congratulations and best wishes to all of you.